So my name's Georgina. I live in Wasdale Head. So we're tenant farmers, and I also run a farmhouse bed and breakfast. So I'm sure many of you know Wasdale Head. Well, Wasdale itself as a valley. It's there's two ends to Wasdale. So we've got Nether Wasdale down at one end of the lake and Wasdale Head up at my end of the lake. Along the lake shore is where we've been getting a lot of problems. So basically, we were approached by Action for Cumbria to create a community panel. And we were asked exactly what we wanted to achieve. So over the meetings, we basically came up with various different recommendations. I'll briefly go through them with you. So what we wanted to do was basically make Wasdale a fabulous place to live, which it already is, but there are things that can improve, as well as making it a fabulous place for visitors to carry on visiting. We don't want to stop visitors coming. We want visitors to come because the majority of us that live here rely on tourism, myself included. So we came up with the following recommendations. So the first one was the creation of an independent local community group to work with outside agencies to ensure the views of the people of Wasdale are central to decision making about the valley. We've never really had much of a voice. Decisions have been made by Lake District National Park Authority, National Trust, Cumberland Council, and we wanted a voice. We also wanted to create public toilets at Wasdale Head. We have an old schoolhouse, which is redundant, to be honest, up at Wasdale Head is the perfect building to make toilets. Number 3 was visitor information and education. We need to inform the messages that go to visitors before they arrive in Wasdale and when they're in the valley. So we want to communicate with the people that are coming here. So, for example, we wanted to set up a website. Enforcement, we wanted to be confident that enforcement action on undesirable and illegal visitor behaviour will be taken by the relevant authorities. This is something that we've moved on to now, which I'll get onto in a second. Visitor travel, we need to action to alleviate problems around traffic and car parking, including improving the shuttle bus through sustainable long-term funding. The shuttle bus is something that already existed. This is something that the Lake District National Park Authority had organised and funded in previous years, and we wanted some input into that. And a visitor levy. We'd like to explore the potential for a visitor levy to fund sustainable solutions to existing problems. So basically where we are at the moment, when we finished with the community panel, we realised that we wanted to carry on the meetings. So we looked into forming a CIC, which we did. A lot of members that came to the community panel stayed on and carried on. We wanted to keep momentum going. We didn't want to lose it because we were so forthcoming in the meetings that we have, which you're having now, and we felt like we could really actually make a difference and get somewhere. So we formed Wasdale Action Group, WAG for short, and formed a CIC, made it into a CIC. We now have monthly meetings, both as Wasdale Action Group, and then a select few from Wasdale Action Group meet with people from representatives from the Lake District National Park Authority, National Trust, Cumberland Council, and we have monthly meetings with them, and we work on an area action plan. Most of the members in our meetings discussing the area action plan are also colleagues of Peter's in the SVMG. So we hear quite a lot about that, and it's wonderful because we managed to have some input into that, and they listen to us. We feel like we do have a voice. Since creating WAG, we've managed to seek funding for the Wasdale Explorer, which is the shuttle bus, which runs up and down the valley and also out of the valley to Gosforth and Ravenglass to connect with a couple of trains. So we applied for funding from GDF, and we were successful doing that. Lake District National Park Authority also gave us some funding. So we've changed a couple of things this year with the shuttle bus. This year we're charging for it. It's only a very low cost, but it's £3 per person for an all-day ticket, which we think is a bargain. But that money is going back into paying the bills for the shuttle bus, and in the hope to have some left over for next year's funding as well. We are working on a longer term solution, so we're not seeking funding every year, but that's still being discussed. We are trying to put pressure on Cumberland Council to try and adapt the PSPO that is currently in operation in Wasdale. The Cumberland Council PSPO is purely for antisocial behaviour. We would like it to follow more along the lines of the Westmoreland and Furness PSPO, which basically is against fires and barbecues and fly camping as well, because we're having a huge problem with fly camping on Wastwater, on the side of Wastwater. We realise that social media is a huge problem, so we've also set up our own website and social media pages. We've managed to get funding for that from GDF, and we are paying a company to manage that for us. The majority of people in Wasdale Action Group have full-time jobs as well, so we don't have all the time in the world to put into it, although we are very, very committed and we do try and put as much into it as possible. So yeah, we're just the biggest thing that we're up against at the moment is enforcement. There's purely not the staff on the ground and the funds, particularly from the National Trust at the moment, to do as much as we would hope that they wanted to do. But we are working with them and we are trying to give them as much input as possible. So one thing that we have sort of stressed with LDMPA, National Trust, and Cumberland Council is that social media is one of the biggest keys that we think could work. Peter was talking about influence the influencers, which is a brilliant plan. However, we've also stressed that it's not always necessary to pay somebody to put the word out there. There are so many different groups on social media, such as I Love the Lake District. There's a huge group called Scafell Pike. We're right next to Scafell Pike. And there's a lot of people that can be influenced through pages like that if the admins of these groups are contacted. So we are hoping we've literally only just got our website and the social media up and running. So when we've found a bit of momentum, we're going to try and do that. We do want to make it clear that we're not a bunch of NIMBYs, not in my backyards type of people. We do want to welcome visitors, but we want them to visit Wasdale responsibly. How much time have I got left, Fran?
Sorry, Georgina, we were on mute. You can have another minute or two if you need it.
Lovely. I think I've said everything that I need to say. Yeah, apologies if I ramble. I'm not a professional speaker.